All right, welcome. We are live today. I'm Hannah Perkey, CEO of Evelo Team. Bob, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Bob Warner, Senior Realtor Partner with the Evelo Team.
Okay, all right. So you guys may be getting familiar with this format. We've been doing this, I believe, since March. Is that right, Bob?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah. So we want to keep bringing you guys the data, keep you updated on what's happened in the market. So I'll just jump right into the questions. So Bob, tell us what happened in the local housing market in October.
Yep. Like you said, kind of getting a little bit stable in how we do this. So I do like to look at some of the same things every month, but also maybe a couple different tweaks or looks at things. So that's what I've got pulled up right now. This first slide, one of the things on here is consistent. We've talked about every month, and that's down at the bottom, and that's that median sales price, right? So this is still a really big number, probably the largest number we've ever seen in our market in terms of being up 15% year over year median sales price. So great news. If you've owned for a few years and you've thought about selling, now might be a really good time to try to capitalize on that equity. The other thing, the top of the slide here, we haven't gone over this one before, but that's the cumulative days on market on average. And so really interesting here, the number of days on market across all listings is down almost 41% year over year.
It's crazy.
That's really incredible too. When you see the chart does kind of ebb and flow with the typical seasonality of real estate, right? There's a lot more buyers and sellers in the market between April and August. We kind of know that. But homes sell all year round, but it is kind of like a little roller coaster like you see here. But you'll see this days on market, it just keeps going down and down. About this time last year, we were almost at 60 days, and now we're down to 25. So that's a pretty interesting one. Next up here, just kind of pending sales and closed sales. Pending sales are up almost 25% year over year. Closed sales up 16%. Another couple we haven't looked at before, just kind of the average price per square foot, right? That's just kind of one metric that you might start to look at where a home might be priced at. That's up 12.2% year over year. So that's just a tiny fraction below that increase we've seen in the median sales price. So that's a good consistency there. And this next one, nice for sellers, maybe not great if you're a buyer that wants a bargain, but the average list to sales price ratio, right? Or on average, what's a home listed at, and then what does it sell at? Right now in October, we were 98.8%. So that means on average, a 1.2% discount across the board. And that number has been pretty strong the last few years, but that still is up 1.3% over last year. And then this last one, we look at this one a lot, just the active inventory year over year, down almost 50%. And then we've talked a lot about that absorption rate or month supply of inventory. Again, a balanced market being somewhere between 5 and 7 months of inventory. We're still at our historic low of that 0.9 month supply of inventory. So crazy stuff.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of like stabilized there, but it's just because it can't really get any lower, right? I feel like what we see with our listings is we list it, it sells typically within 2 to 7 days.
Yep.
So I think it only is staying at that 0.9 because that's as low as it can really get. So
Right.
tell us more about that 0.9 inventory. What does that mean?
Yeah, one of the things we've done the last few months is we've just kind of taken a look at that right across some of our, we do a lot of business on the north side of Indianapolis. We certainly serve the whole Indy metro area, but it's just kind of, I found this to be one interesting metric to look at. And we've just kind of taken 5 of those popular northern suburbs, Fishers, Noblesville, Carmel, Westfield, and Zionsville. And we just kind of break it down into the, as of, I think I pulled this last night, right? The total number of active listings in each one of those. And so those 5 suburbs, and we're still just a tick over 600 total listings all in, right? So really just about 100 per, a little bit over 100. And then if you look at those that are under 250, right, kind of a sweet spot, maybe that entry level or slight move up buyer, I mean, we're looking at less than 50 total listings in those 5 suburbs that are under $250,000.
It's crazy. And I think it's just a good reminder to anyone out there watching that's thinking about buying. This is not to discourage you, but to give you a realistic view of what's happening in the market and to encourage you to really ask your realtor, hey, what are you doing to set yourself apart? Because I think as a team, I think we have 14 agents right now. We come together and we're constantly talking about strategy, off market, coming soon, anything that we know about and can share the word about, because as you see with those numbers, that's super important.
Yep. And like you said, just being prepared. And I mean, that kind of rolls right into the next thing that we were going to talk about, and maybe why might you consider getting in the market now
Mhm.
instead of waiting, right? We have kind of been looking at interest rates for the last few months consistently as well. And the reason we're doing that is because they too are at historic low levels, right?
Mhm.
The 30-year mortgage right now is still fluctuating right around 3%. Sometimes it goes a couple ticks under. Obviously, that's dependent on your credit score, debt to income ratios, and things like that. But I just kind of did one graph here today just to kind of say, hey, if I buy today and I buy a $300,000 home at 3%, what's that look like? Just principal and interest, right? And then what if I wait till 2021? Because I'm just not sure, or maybe I'm sitting on the fence. Well, I mean, you can see here just a half a point jump, right? Which can happen pretty quickly. That's an $82 a month difference, right? So a little under, really, it works out to be about $1,000 a year difference. And over the
Mhm.
life of a 30-year loan, that's almost $30,000. So
Yeah.
that's a real difference, and
Mhm.
that's real money.
And I think if you haven't looked at refinancing, reach out to us. We can recommend some lenders to talk to, but I would highly encourage just talking to them and seeing. I think every single person I've referred over has saved money by refinancing. And someone said to me the other day, they're like, well, our rate's pretty good. I don't think I'm going to save anything. But you want to check that. The other thing too is like the reappraisal. So you might be able to, create some equity there, drop PMI. So I think it's important for you to be looking at refinancing if you haven't already.
Yep, those are great points actually that we haven't hit on. Now, I'll just hit that PMI one again, right? If you maybe bought anywhere in the last 3 to 5 years and you had
Mhm.
PMI, there's a really good chance that you are beyond your 20% equity stake at this if you refi. So that would save some great money. And like you said too, even if it's not that you're maybe you don't save money, but maybe you drop from a 30 to a 15, right? Like
Mhm.
think how much quicker you pay that off. There are some scenarios where depending on when you bought, you might be able to drop now from a 30 to a 15. If you were at a 5 or 5.5 or maybe 6% interest rate, you might have the same payment at a 15-year loan now.
Right. It's
So,
exactly true. Great.
um, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, new construction, what's the latest numbers there?
Yeah, so they're a little bit behind this month. We get those numbers from the Builders Association of Greater Indianapolis.
Mhm.
They just haven't quite released their October numbers. So these are still September numbers, but still good to look at. The thing here is we're looking at the number of new or building permits filed, right? In like the 9 counties around Marion County and including Marion County. And for September, we were up 45%, which is just absolutely crazy, right? Now, they did kind of mention then that that might be a little bit of a blip. When we first went into COVID, there was a little bit of a delay in kind of getting projects through that process. But consistently year over year, they've still been in that plus 12 to 15% every month we've looked. And the reason I kind of like to bring that up is because that could be an option for some sellers, right? You hear that we have low inventory and you're not sure you're going to find the home that you want. Building a home is always an option, right? Like
Mhm.
capitalize on the gains that you may have made in your existing home and then turn that into building the dream home that you desire.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. All right. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, we always like to find something to end on. This time it just is kind of seems to be our theme for the day, right? But just real estate has always kind of been considered one of the best investments you can make.
Right.
There was a study by the Federal Reserve last year that indicated 90% of the typical Americans kind of um, equity, right? Their total net worth, 90% of it comes from home ownership, right? And part of that is those things we've talked about, right? 15% gains a year, 5% gains a year, right? You own a home for 15, 20, 30 years, that adds up pretty quickly. And this was just an interesting little statistic that I came across before the call today. And it just said that person who's purchased a home 30 years ago has typically seen a gain of $283,000, right? So
Wow.
maybe if you're not in home ownership yet, maybe if you're leasing and you've been thinking about it, right? Another great opportunity to maybe start to build your family's net worth
Mhm.
and really get on track from that perspective to help position yourself well for the future.
Yeah, great info. Awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys joining us today. If you have any questions about the material presented today, want recommendations to a lender that we trust, let us know. You can reach out to us at 317-863-9011 or email us at info@eveloteam.com. Again, thanks so much, and we appreciate you joining us.
Take care.